September 30, 1938, a British politician stepped off a plane in London, held up a piece of paper to a cheering crowd of thousands, and announced peace for our time. The crowd called him a hero, they called him a statesman, they said he had just saved Europe from another war, he had just made the single biggest mistake in modern history, and by the time the world understood why, 85 million people were dead. To understand how this happened you need to go back 20 years, 1918. The First World War had just ended, 17 million people were dead, entire generations of young men from France, Britain, Germany and Russia simply gone, villages in England where every man between 18 and 30 had not come home. When the winners sat down to write the peace treaty they were furious. The Treaty of Versailles stripped Germany of its land, its military and its colonies, forced Germany to accept full blame for the entire war, and then handed Germany a debt so enormous that economists said it was physically impossible to ever pay back. One economist in the room said exactly that out loud. His name was John Maynard Keynes. He walked out of the conference, predicted the treaty would destroy Germany within a generation and wrote a book saying so. Nobody listened. He was completely right. The 1920s in Germany were a disaster. Hyperinflation so severe that workers were paid twice a day so they could spend their wages before the money lost its value by evening. Then the Great Depression hit, 6 million Germans unemployed, breadlines, despair so thick it had a smell. Into that chaos came a voice, loud and certain, with someone to blame for all of it. The leaders of Britain and France were not naive men, they were not cowards, they were men who had personally watched the First World War, who had buried friends and sent young men into trenches. They were terrified of doing it again, and that terror became their entire strategy. Neville Chamberlain became British Prime Minister in 1937. He looked at Hitler and saw a man with specific grievances that if addressed might be satisfied. Give him what he wants, remove the grievance, remove the fuel. This policy was called appeasement. In 1938 Hitler demanded a region of Czechoslovakia called the Sudetenland where 3 million ethnic Germans lived. Chamberlain flew to Munich, met Hitler directly, and agreed to hand it over, without consulting the Czechs, without asking them, without even inviting them to the table. Chamberlain flew home with his piece of paper. The crowd cheered, peace for our time. 6 months later Germany took the rest of Czechoslovakia, not just the German-speaking part, all of it. Chamberlain announced that Britain would now guarantee the independence of Poland, the next country on the list. September 1, 1939 Germany invaded Poland. 2 days later Britain and France declared war on Germany. The Second World War had begun. Germany had spent 6 years secretly rebuilding its military in direct violation of the Treaty of Versailles. 100,000 soldiers had become 3 million. A band air force had been completely rebuilt, and they had developed a new way of fighting that nobody else had seen yet. In 6 weeks France surrendered. The country that had held the Western Front for 4 years against Germany was gone in 6 weeks. Britain stood alone. What followed was 6 years of the most devastating conflict in human history. Germany invaded the Soviet Union with 3 million soldiers across an 1,800-mile front. Japan attacked Pearl Harbor and pulled America into the war, and the entire world burned. By May 1945 it was over. Germany surrendered unconditionally. Between 70 and 85 million people were dead, somewhere between 3 and 4% of the entire human population of Earth gone in 6 years, all of it traced back to one man holding up one piece of paper at an airport in 1938 and believing that the most dangerous man in Europe had told him the truth. Chamberlain died 8 months later. Lung cancer. He never saw what his decision had cost. The economist who predicted everything in 1919 outlived the war and helped rebuild the world economy afterward. He never said I told you so. There was not much point. If this story changed the way you see history, share it with someone today, and subscribe because there are hundreds more stories like this one, and they deserve to be told.